So Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. Now, I want to talk today about the recent one where Trump is really clamping down on a bunch of DEI policies and rolling back, DEI policies. And I'm seeing a lot of chatter on the internet. And as a black person, I want to point out vehemently to everybody that I don't care. And you guys have probably seen this because I've talked about this in a lot of other videos. I've talked about this when they struck down affirmative action in Harvard, right? Well, the Harvard case, I talked about it and I said, we don't care. And I'm saying it again, we don't care. And why am I saying that we don't care? It's because it wasn't doing anything to give black people jobs anyway. That's what makes me laugh when I always hear these stupid statements online. Have you gone into any of these companies? Is it Google? Is it Meta? Facebook? Target? Bank of America? How many black people do you think are in those jobs? Seriously, if you're working in any of those companies, just sit down there and just look around. You probably know the black person in that job. And that black person in that job probably went to Harvard, probably has like an engineering degree. He's probably the top of the heap. And he's probably working with people who are non-black who went to University of Phoenix. And they're probably his manager, right? I'm serious. Go to your company and look around. So this whole thing of, DEI is going to affect black people. How? How? It's not being used to really hire any black people anyway. No, it's not. If anything, it's being used to say that black people are getting an advantage, whereas in reality, it's not even really the case. Go to any company and look at the executive, the executives in the company, the managers in the company. Just go to the internet and look at the pictures there and see how many of those companies do you find black people in any sort of executive position. None. Like, just check any place. You'll see almost none. So what exactly is DEI doing? It's definitely not being used to promote anybody, right? If you want to prove that DEI is working, then show me the company where there has been an increase in black hiring because of DEI, because I don't know that company. What I would love to see is transparency in the hiring process, but that will never happen, right? Transparency in the promotion process, but that will never happen. And what do I mean? Well, people they could put out a job and people interview for the job and then eventually somebody gets hired, right? Well, how do we know that the person that got hired was the best person for the job? We already know that if the person that got hired was black, everybody would say that they weren't the best person for the job, that they were a DEI hire. But we know that that's not true, right? I mean, look at the people who are going into the cabinet right now for Donald Trump. Are they the best people for the job? Right? You got Pete Hegseth, that was a Fox News host. I mean, he is in the military, but he's now a Fox News host. And he was selected to be the Department of Defense Secretary. And he actually was nominated, right? He could be really good at this job. He could be actually amazing at the job. But was he the best at the job? What is the criteria, right? You keep saying merit, 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 merit. Well, I can tell you, the military, it's very clear. It's very clear. You can see who has more merit than the other. You could see it by the number of accolades they have in the military, by their rank, right? So if we were to base it on that, wouldn't a general be of higher merit than Pete Hegseth? Wouldn't somebody who has fought in more wars or managed more people, commanded more armies, be a better candidate than Pete Hegseth if you're talking about merit? Now, I'm not saying that Pete Hegseth isn't going to be a good candidate. He probably will be. I don't know. But that's what I'm talking about. What is the criteria? You see, it's easy to just come out there and whenever you see somebody's black, you say, oh, well, it's got to be merit. This person is unqualified. But everybody else, crickets. We have Sean Duffy from The Real World. I think he's like the Department of Transportation secretary. We have, I think, Linda McMahon, the wife of Vince McMahon, is going to be the secretary of the Department of Education. I mean, I don't even think she was ever an educator. I heard that her qualifications is that she was on the board of some school, the board. Now, by the way, you can be on a board just because of your connections. Her husband is the head of the WWE, so she has a lot of connections. Does that make her qualified? Where is the merit? So I don't mind them getting rid of DEI because DEI has never helped black people. But now that they've gotten rid of it, we now need to start shining a flashlight on all the people that are hired and promoted in companies everywhere. Because you're not going to be able to get away with saying we need to hire the most qualified people. But nobody actually questions you when you hire people that are not qualified if they're not black, right? Because at the end of the day, hiring is subjective. That's just the truth. No matter what you say, you can never just say merit, merit, merit. Hiring is subjective. It all depends on the person doing the hiring. That person hires somebody that they connect with. It has nothing to do with merit. If they connect with you, they hire you. Now, they could connect with you because you're the same race as them, maybe because you went to the same school as them, maybe because you guys are from the same town or know the same people. That's really how hiring happens, right? And that's the reason why they even, at least on paper, they started those DEI policies in the 60s because you had all these qualified black people that were not getting hired, even though they were overqualified. And so they put those policies in place. Now, I would once again say they were never used correctly because black people still were never getting hired. What these companies just did at the end of the day is they just put a lot of language on their websites. Or maybe they would even from time to time hire black people in lower level positions, but they would never get promoted to any executive position. Maybe one person every 10 years, right? So it's important for black people to stay on this. Pay attention to this. Not because you should be mad that it's being rolled back, because once again, like I said with affirmative action, it doesn't matter. Affirmative action, DEI policies, they were never helping you. They were just giving other people some fuel and a reason to satisfy their ego, right? It was giving them sort of an excuse for their incompetence, right? They couldn't get into a school. They would say it's because black people are in the school. They can't get a job. They'll say it's because black people. Just think about it, right? A company like Meta probably has like maybe 1% to 2% of the entire company is black. I can guarantee you that. I don't even know the numbers, right? But the thousands of people that are not black that can't get into Meta, they will say that they're not able to get into Meta because of black people, because of DEI policies. And that's what I'm going to really enjoy about this, because what people are going to find out is nothing is going to change. It's not like black people were getting into those companies anyway. It's not like black people were getting promoted anyway. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Nothing's going to change. The only thing will change is the incompetent people will have nobody to blame but themselves.